Hello, everybody. It's me, Kirk Mastin from Mastin Labs, and today we're joined by Zalmy Berkowitz, who you now live in
Huntington Beach, California.
Huntington Beach, California. Last time that I knew you, you lived in Berkeley.
Yes, very possibly.
Yes.
We're still moving to Berkeley. It's just in between places.
Okay. Well, it's all super nice down there. It's very different than here.
Yeah. Super nice as opposed to here. No, I'm kidding.
Washington just sucks. It's just a terrible place.
Oh, no, it's gorgeous right now, so I'm good.
Good. So you probably have seen his work in the group. I'm sure you have many times. Zalmy is one of my favorite photographers out there right now. I've been following your work for, I don't know, 7 years maybe?
We're old.
Maybe older?
We're old.
Yeah, 8 years. Something that really stands out to me about Zalmy is his use of layering and composition and depth, and combining that with real moments, chaotic moments, and just basically, I don't know, like finding order within chaos and capturing a lot of energy. I don't know if I did a good job explaining your style.
Sounds like my bio. I should have put it in there.
Okay, yes. And also you're a really, really good writer, I think, which is super rare to be both a good photographer and a really talented writer. So
And I make really good sandwiches. Just put
I should have put that first, actually. So sandwich, perfect sandwiches, really good writing, and really nice compositions. Does that sum it up?
Yeah,
pretty well?
about life skills. Yeah, that's about it.
So just right off the bat, if you have a chance, and you will have a chance, go to zalmyb.com. It'll blow your mind. That is your portfolio website. It's really,
also,
really
Chuck
good.
Norris photography or James Bond photography.
Oh yeah. How many domains do you have?
I have way too many. I had just hiremealready.com. I'm a really good photographer.com.
That's a good one. I like that one.
It was a good one.
Yeah.
I have issues.
I love it. Yeah. So chucknorrisphotography.com, jamesbondphotography.com, I'm a good photographer.com.
I'm a really good photographer.
I'm a really good photographer.com.
I think that one might have lapsed though.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. At some point I gotta.
So any of those they could go to.
Yes.
Okay.
Any of
So
those.
super versatile. Like you're.
Yeah. Some people like typing different things. So like in case your hands go that way or that way, got covered.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So
gotta make it easy to find.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about your background, like how you got into photography.
Okay, it's a very fascinating story. That's totally not. I was doing graphic design. Badly, I should say. Or not very well. And I was doing it for a lot of Jewish organizations, and you need stock photography. So I need like pictures of like a dreidel and a challah, Jewish stuff. So I figured like it can't be that hard. So I bought a camera, a Canon Rebel, I don't know, XTI4, I don't know, whatever. And I never took those shots because they're actually really hard.
Like product photography, essentially?
Yeah.
Something small, like getting it all perfect.
Yeah, and just boring for me.
Yeah.
If you like that stuff, good on you. But when I get into something, I get like really into something. So I just got really into photography. I just sat in the Florida library for weeks reading. And so I started to take pictures of my kids because now that I have a camera, I may as well use it. And then that's it.
That's it.
Eventually someone says, hey, can you take pictures of my kids? I'm like, yeah. They're like, what do you charge? I'm like, charge? $60,
Yeah.
So I charge $60. Figured I'd break it in pretty quickly at that rate.
So you started with families?
I started with families, and then, same as most people, I assume. Someone asks you to shoot a wedding, you freak out, you go online, you ask people what to do. They say, don't shoot your first wedding.
But how are you supposed to start then?
I know, right?
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't shoot your first wedding.
Online advice is funny.
Yeah.
And then just kind of snowballed from there.
Cool. Yeah, your work, I never saw any of your super early work. Or maybe I have. I don't know. Maybe it's been consistent.
I don't think I ever took it off my blog. So if you're bored enough, you just keep on pushing that button on the bottom.
Yeah.
You get some really bad stuff.
I doubt it. I don't know. So one thing that's really awesome about your work, and what I think is really rare is that I don't know, you don't go like a traditional route, especially within like wedding photography, where at least when I was starting, it was like you had a 17-40 on one camera and then like a 70-200 on the other camera, and a lot of it was about really tight telephoto shots where things are blurred out and whatever. You're doing really crazy cool stuff like a 20mm lens cropped to a square and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's crazy, but yeah, I like wide.
Yeah.
A lot of the weddings I shoot are pretty crammed in. Like, you don't have like mountain space or venue space to move back, anyways.
Yeah, you're not like, hold on a second, I've got a 200mm lens, I gotta like back up.
Yeah, there's nowhere to back up in half these places. So yeah, I just got. I'm not sure why I got into wide angle. Maybe that's one reason. I just had to. I just like it. I don't know. I wasn't looking at much of other people's work when I was starting too much. More just whatever I found in the library, and most of it was like photojournalistic, which is usually shot fairly wide.
That's true.
So like the work I saw was probably between like 20 and 35, almost everything. Besides like, once in a while I have a longer shot. But the work I saw was wider and I liked it.
Were there any photographers you studied in particular? Do you remember, like from that time?
Not really that I know of. I know that William Albert Allard, he's like the first guy I really like fell in love with.
Is he the one? Is he the one with the cattle branding picture or whatever, where there's like a red bucket? No. And it goes back a few layers. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. That's another person
Sam Abel?
with a different name. Yeah, that's Sam Abel.
Maybe it's Sam Abel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and just his work, I just really fell in love with. It's just really compelling and very. You don't like feel the photographer so much. Meaning like his stories and the way he shoots, like the stories of themselves are so good that you like flip through the book without like thinking about, wow, this is a good photo, and you're just like, wow, this is a good story. And like that's what I wanted it to be. Like I want the photos to not be about like me telling the story, just like the storytelling itself. Obviously, through taking a good photo, but the story should be like up front and center, not the photographer. At least that's kind of what I saw with his work. I finished his book, and then like I realized I didn't like even think once about like how good of a photographer he was.
Yeah, because
I like because the stories were so good, and the way he told them was so good.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And it's like that kind of like was a big part of how I want to shoot.
So letting the content pull you in rather than the novelty, like whatever lens or lighting or whatever was used. It was more like you're drawn into the story,
right? In it, even though I'm still a sucker for bokeh, but that's mostly for portraits. Yeah, I hate it and love it.
It is pretty cool. Like it really, a bokeh is really fun. But at least you see around that. Like
that's just I don't include. I try to stop that usually as much as possible.
So I wanted to come back to the one way that you shoot, which is the 20mm cropped square.
Okay.
Which I don't know anyone else. I've never met anyone else who's ever taken that approach. Like, tell me of like a typical way that you would position yourself or compose with that setup.
Oh gosh.
Like, how do you even do that?
Just do it. Well, I shot square for a while, like square cameras. So a Hasselblad, a few Hasselblads. I had a Rolleiflex, 2 Rolleiflexes. So I had like the Rolleiflex twin lens, a Rolleiflex SL66, which is like an SLR.
I know that camera.
It's a good camera.
You're like the second person I've ever met who even knows.
I had the Rolleiflex 6008 and the 6003.
Wow.
I had a lot of cameras.
Fancy.
I had like 3 Mamiya C330s. I had way too many cameras.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyways, so I really fell in love with the square. It's just, it feels like a finished image, a square. It's like just very like elegant and like pre-composed almost. I know that doesn't make sense, but so on the Mamiya 6 and on the Hasselblads and the SL66, whatever, I usually had an 80 and a 50. Those are like my two lenses I use most often.
Which is like a normal lens.
Yeah, so an 80 would be, it's like a 35 millimeter crop to square.
Okay. Okay, so
And-
if you had the angle of view of a 35 millimeter lens, but you were to chop off
Right.
the ends and make it square.
So it's kind of like a 50 millimeter with extra.
Okay.
So if you take a vertical 50, but like, you know, you have the vertical part equal to the horizontal part. So like to stretch it out a little bit,
Yes.
i.e. a 35 crop off the edges. So like an 80 on like a 645 would be like a 50. And since
Yes.
it's 6x6, it's just wider
Yes.
or
Exactly.
taller, depending on it.
Yeah. Everyone's getting this, right? Like
Yeah.
all
Very
okay.
exciting.
For some people though, it's like that's the most exciting thing in the world.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the 50 is kind of like a 28 both ways. Similar to like a 50 both ways.
Yes.
So basically like a 20 cropped off to square.
Yes,
And-
because you're losing a big chunk of it, so it becomes equivalent
To a 28.
Yes.
But both ways. So a 28 is perfect. Like I love the 28 because you could pretty much compose to the edges without people looking too crazy. You know, once you get 24, like people's heads start going crazy.
yeah, you start to get that weird like alien oblong type
Yeah.
thing if they're like towards the edges. Yeah.
Right. So 28, you could still. I mean, they're still a little bit wider, but it looks fine. So this is like it's like 28 both ways. So it's like the perfect wide angle where it's not crazy any direction. And especially when you have larger sensors, things always look better on the edges, anyways.
Yeah.
Don't know why. I kind of do know why.
It's a secret though.
No, it makes sense. Should I
Yeah.
get into that? No.
No. We're gonna go deep.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so those are the lenses I was shooting. And when I switched back to digital, which was maybe 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I have no clue.
That's some time ago.
I switched back to digital. I'm like, Mastin, I need your presets. I think I called you Kirk.
Yes.
So
Or
that,
Chuck
yeah,
Norris.
that was the first time I tried the presets. Yeah, so I got a 20 millimeter and a 35 millimeter because that's what I was used to shooting. And I just kept on shooting that way.
And this would be like what camera body? Sony?
Oh, yeah,
Or
now
does
I'm
it
using
change?
Sony. It's
Okay.
A7 and R3.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah, we've got 2 of those. That's what we're shooting,
Yeah, they're really-
shooting
they're-
this on even. They're
good cameras.
I like that camera too.
They annoy me, but they're good cameras. Sony annoys me.
They're kind of like a space shuttle. There's so many controls.
Yeah.
But they're also really nice. So
It's like a computer
yeah,
that you have no control over. It's obnoxious.
it's like a wild computer.
Yeah, it's like the software is built in, and like you should be able to change things easily because it's just software.
But you can't.
But you can't. You have to wait like 8 months for firmware.
Yeah.
You know,
They should just make an open source.
it should be open source, or at
Yeah.
least like Apple, like they could control the apps, but like
Yeah.
third party developers should be able to make.
You could
Like for
load
example,
stuff on.
like you could only you could shoot in 16:9 mode, or I think 4:5, or regular 2:3. Like it should be user programmable.
So you can change it to whatever you
You
want.
should be able to. I mean, it's just software. Why not?
Yeah.
It's not actually changing the image.
like Panavision if you wanted. Like
yeah,
really long.
you should be able to put in
Yeah.
any just like
That'd be cool.
yeah.
You could have like an X-Pan.
Yeah, you should be able to say, hey, Google, F16, ISO 200, 1/25 of a second.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. Or hey, Sony, fine, all right?
Yeah. Hey Sony.
Anyways, getting off topic. But, I mean, they're computers. Now, I mean, you know,
They are.
cameras are mostly computers.
Yeah.
But they're just, and the software in them. It's like you get, we just bought a keyboard for the kids, like a digital piano, you know, and they have like a little screen. And if you pay like $800 more, you get a better screen. Like you could pay $100 for a cheap phone that like the screen is like eons better than like this.
And it can do like a million, infinite number
Yeah.
of things. Yeah.
Yeah, they should run Android or iOS, the phones.
Yeah, totally. I think that's coming. That's gotta come.
No, I thought also I think that like what's it called when the computer not enhances image, but like with a phone, how computational photography.
Yeah.
I totally think that's the future. Like what Google is doing with their Pixel and their night mode and their stuff like this, it's so
Yeah.
much more advanced than SLRs, and because that's where the money is.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
trickle down to like the real camera, which is weird. Like
I know,
you
right?
the
It feels kind of backwards.
It is kind of
Yeah, yeah,
backwards,
yeah.
but like that's totally the future.
Well, like on an iPhone, you can control the depth of field after you shot the photo,
Yeah,
or you can take a photo that's that's got a lot more resolution because it'll stack like a bunch of shots together, either to get rid of noise or to make it
Right, I can imagine
higher res.
like a 4x5 tablet with like a camera on each side, like 4 cameras. So you should be able to get the same. They could be tiny sensors, same like a phone, but you should be able to get the same look as a regular 4x5 because you have the sensor size combining the different. Like you should totally be able to get that, and of course, since you have multiple lenses, you could see how far the distance of each thing is. So you could totally
get
change,
everything.
yeah.
Even like
And you
change
could
the
also
tilt
have the
and shit.
lenses that like move around for zooming instead of like have a zoom lens. They could like, and that would.
I think this is the beginning of a
Yeah.
camera company, maybe. Who knows? You heard it here first.
Google, get on
Yeah.
that. Anyways, what were we talking about?
Well, okay, so two questions I have from that. So one is, you're shooting with a digital body.
I am.
You got a 20 millimeter lens on it or a 35 millimeter lens, right?
Often.
And you're planning on cropping it to a square
Sometimes.
So while you're shooting, are you thinking that way? Do you have anything masked off on the back of your camera?
No, it depends what I'm shooting
Uh-huh.
and how I'm shooting. Like if I'm shooting like wedding reception, like the dancing,
Yeah.
things are happening too quickly, and usually it's just like I just go to town and like figure it out later.
And then you'll be like, oh, this will look really cool.
Yeah, and
Crop
I'm
to
a
square.
huge fan of cropping. I will crop like crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not a stickler for non-cropping. But when I have more time, like anything else,
Yeah.
usually I know beforehand if I'm gonna crop or not.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I love it.
It's
I
not
love
a
it.
very conscious. It's not like I click a button that's saying I'm gonna crop. It's just
You feel
when
it. Yeah.
and often later I'll change my mind.
Yeah.
I don't see everything on the spot, and like sometimes I'll be like, oh, this looks better as a 6x7,
Yeah.
or full frame or whatever it is.
I think that's great. I mean, that's like part of the art of photography is like there's different stages. There's like before you shoot, all the planning, shooting it, and then post-production, like how you treat the image. Like back in the day, photographers used to work in pairs where it'd be like a photographer and a printer, right? Like you would go shoot and then you'd work with your printer to get
Right.
the
And your printer
cropping
probably
and-
did the developing also. That's because that's kind of a similar. Isn't that like, because you're kind of developing to print. Like,
Yeah. You're shooting, well,
you're shooting to print.
you're shooting the negative for a certain kind of print later, but
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so there's several books you viewers should read. So Ansel Adams did the negative, the print. These are different books. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So if you want to get just like really like deep into the idea of like
There's one
shooting
more,
to
right?
print, yeah, there's 3, right?
Yeah.
So there's the negative. So Ansel Adams wrote a book called The Negative, which is about shooting the zone system.
Is that the third?
Is that the third or is that the negative? Gosh, man, I am not a good teacher.
Google
today.
would help us.
Google. All right. Siri, what are the 3 books?
Hey, Sony.
Yeah. But those books tackle like how to shoot the negative for a certain kind of print. The printing book covers the printing, and then the zone system is about the crazy zone system.
I
Anyway,
don't have patience for this stuff anymore.
um,
Some people do. I did for a little bit.
that brings me to the other question that you made me think of, which is, how do you feel your work has changed going from film to digital and so on? Like, do you think differently or work differently? Has it had any effect?
Oh, well, let's see. I love film. I like it. I don't love it.
I think it's all right.
I think it's all right.
I'm kidding. I love it.
So I'm a huge fan of film for like various reasons. The final like difference in quality between that and digital is like all the way down the line about why I love it.
Yeah.
Because like digital can get pretty darn close to film.
Yeah, you can get close.
It's first of all, I scanned a lot of my own film, which I know you did, and that really gives you a feel of like what an image is supposed to look like.
Yes.
And lets you understand color. Because like with digital, with a raw image, like you don't know what it's supposed to look like.
You could go anywhere.
You can go anywhere. There's so many, especially with like, I think a lot of us started with Photoshop before Lightroom.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, Lightroom has a billion sliders, but like Photoshop's even worse because like, you know, actions and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so like
it's
you don't
infinite.
know what the image is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So, you know, you just move everything around and you just to like, oh, that looks cool.
You can't get lost.
And like looks cool is usually ugly.
Yeah.
Especially at that stage.
Or like a week later, you're like, I hate that style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So film really gives like a really good baseline of like, this looks good and will always look good.
I totally agree.
And
I
so-
agree 100%.
Not that there are many images I've seen that do not look like film and still look good. So like film
Yes.
is not the only way an image looks good.
No,
but it's
no.
a really good baseline for like, this is good skin tone, this is good color, this looks good.
Yes.
So that, you know, just not being able to like know being able to know what I want from a digital image now. And like, I kind of know how to get there. I mean, obviously I use your presets,
Yeah.
but just exposure wise and white balance is like huge.
It's huge.
And,
yeah. Yeah.
So scanning really, really helped me with, you know, dialing down the color and like what I expect. And I still shoot film here and there, and because sometimes I feel my digital editing, you know, veering away from the tried and true path.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I get back film, I'm like, oh right, that's what I wanted it to look like. So I have to like, because sometimes I like too contrasty. I'm
Yeah.
like, contrast. I love contrast, but sometimes I get too much, and then I get a digital, you know, some film back from the lab. I'm like, oh right. You know,
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do. So I like dial it back, so it keeps me on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, totally. Film is like a good kind of navigation point. Like,
Yeah.
like, I agree. I feel like you can learn a lot from film about like how an image could look, or what a certain film feels like. Like, so you start to like, just it's part of you. You understand like, okay, I know what Ektar is supposed to feel like.
Yeah, I walk outside sometimes. I'm like, wow, that is totally Fuji green.
Yeah, exactly. So once you've internalized your
That's because
feeling
I live in
about
California.
it. Okay.
You guys
well,
don't have
got-
Fuji green here.
No,
you
no.
guys have portrait green.
We're much more of a portrait state, I think. Yeah,
Which is why you need Fuji.
Yeah,
Because, like-
actually yes, because everything here is like yellow or brown and decomposing because it rains so much. So yeah, we do need to cool it down with Fuji a little bit. Yeah, so yeah, I totally had the same experience. Like shooting and scanning my own film taught me how to edit digital the way that tracks with film, and now I feel comfortable editing digital without a film like counterpart,
Right.
I guess. But it's valuable for people.
Yeah,
to
it's
learn.
very valuable. It's also fun.
Yes, it's also
It's
fun.
also like,
It's like a present you give yourself.
yeah, with digital cameras, you're like, they're all pretty much exactly the same. With,
Yeah.
you know, small variances. You're all looking through a 2x3 rectangle to take the photo.
Yes.
With film, there is like, you know, there's a few rangefinders out there which are slightly different, you know, because you're actually looking at the real world. So
Yeah,
you do
true.
you see a little differently, especially in regards to depth of field. But with film, like there are so many cameras that worked in so many different ways. Like, you know,
Yeah.
now you're looking down into reverse square, and now you
Yeah.
know, now you have two lenses, and now you're holding up this massive beast to your face. You have a
Yeah.
6x7. You have
Or you're putting a
6x9.
hood over your head and
you
it's
have a
upside
hood over
down.
your head. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, and each time you shoot a different way, you see differently.
Totally.
And it's so every time I change, this is my excuse for changing cameras all the time. But every time I change from like one type of camera to another, not just the same camera, but like like from a square to like a 6x7 or something, you see the
Yeah.
world a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And like with digital, you don't have that chance. It's really hard to like compose panorama if you've never shot panoramic cameras.
Yes.
Like if you haven't shot
yes.
an X-Pan or something similar
Oh,
to that, it's
X-Pan.
really hard to look through a like 2x3 image and see a panorama.
I love the X-Men.
Yeah, it's because like film
Yeah.
came in these massive sheets, and you could just cut it to any size you want.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like digital where you have to like pay exponentially more for a bigger sensor.
Yeah.
So like, and the film was by far the most complicated part of the camera.
Oh, by far.
So
Yeah.
you know, anyone could make a camera.
Yeah.
So there were
You
like
don't need- you don't
hundreds
need
of
electronics
companies
even.
that made just these wacky cameras. You have the
Yeah.
Holga that costs like, you know, you could probably make it yourself with a 3D printer. I'm sure you could.
Totally.
Well, the
That's a
lens
good
might be a
idea.
little more complicated.
Yeah.
So there was just more innovation. Now, like all the innovation is in the hand of like, you know, 4 big companies,
Yeah.
and they're all like innovating together, meaning
Watching
nothing
each
is
other
really
and,
happening.
kind of copying each other.
Right. The
yeah.
cameras are just better versions of the previous version. They're amazing,
Yeah.
you know.
And it's very expensive and dangerous to take a chance, probably, in camera design.
Yeah.
To be like, I'm going to make a panoramic digital camera, and then, 12
Right.
people buy it, and then the company goes bankrupt because
Yeah.
they're like,
Or like a circle sensor.
ooh.
A circle sensor, then you could get the maximum coverage with any ratio. Like if you have a square, you'd have more square because you'd be able to go a little bit higher than a 2x3.
Oh.
If you're shooting panoramic, you'd be able to shoot more to the edges because the 2x3 would cut off earlier in the square, in the circle. Would it
Man.
sell? I don't know. I'd love it because then you could shoot square and you'd actually have more, area in a square than in the 2x3 if you do the math, which I was bored enough to do.
You're like, I've already done this.
Yes.
And I've calculated this.
So you'd have like a square of like, it would be, I don't know, it'd be like a 32 by 32 or something instead of a 24 by 24 when you're cropping from a 35 millimeter.
Man, I love all.
So like, who would do it?
ideas.
Nobody,
No,
because like it's so
too dangerous.
It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I don't know if it's more complicated to make
Yeah.
a circle sensor. I don't know.
So our innovation now comes down to, does it have one card slot or two card slots, or like
Yeah.
an extra focus point?
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. Like, the cameras are great. The iFocus
Oh,
is pretty.
sure.
It's pretty amazing. It's totally cheating.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's cheating, but that's like really cheating.
Yeah. No, that's pretty sweet.
I guess EVF is like the biggest innovation.
Yeah.
The electronic viewfinder.
Yeah.
Since like film, that's like the biggest change, I think.
So you can see exactly
Because like everything else
what's happening.
is just built on the film cameras.
Yeah.
Like better autofocus or better this, but like the biggest change I think is that electronic viewfinder.
Seeing like
it's
real
pretty
live
cool.
exposure, like
Yeah.
at the time of shooting.
Yeah, I like look through an SLR now and I forget to like check my exposure.
Oh yeah, because you're not seeing it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it looks good. Just take a picture.
Yeah.
Because like you look through the Sony, if it looks good, it's gonna take a good.
That's true. It makes it a little easier in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a film camera that you recommend for people to like get started? Because you've tried a lot of different cameras. Like, is there one in particular where you're like, this would be a good way to start?
Well, I mean, money's always an issue. So like, I think Square is amazing. It's fun. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little more challenging in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So like the C330 is like a really good, the Mamiya.
So the Mamiya C330.
Yeah, it's around like $300 for like the camera with the lens.
That's nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
And it's a really good lens.
Yeah.
And it focuses really closely. So and it's interchangeable, unlike I guess any other.
Is it
twin lens.
is it a camera where it's a twin lens where you're
It's a
looking
twin
down?
lens. You're looking down.
Okay.
And the lenses are on a bellows, so you can focus really closely.
Oh, so it's very all-purpose.
Yeah, and they have like a bunch of lenses. Is it 55, 65,
Okay.
and 80? Should I go on? 105,
No,
145?
no. So
180,
so
250?
someone watching could go onto eBay and buy
That eBay,
a C330 and like 4 lenses for like
500.
$500.
I don't know if you need 4 lenses.
Well, one lens. Just,
Yeah,
just
the
to get
80 is
started.
pretty- yeah. 80 is a
Cool.
really good lens.
Hmm.
And I shot a lot on that. It's a really good lens, really good camera.
Hmm.
There's a camera that no one uses. I don't know why. I guess because it's square. The Rolex like 6008.
Okay.
It's such a good camera.
Is that one where it's electronic, where it advances the film?
It's
for you?
electronic.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like the contacts of the square world,
Okay.
except it's much cheaper.
So it's like
it
it's
didn't
like
go
super
crazy.
nice.
It's super nice. It has all the regular Hasselblad lenses.
Mm-hmm.
So like the 50, the 40, the 80, But they also have like a whole line of Schneider lenses.
Oh, those
They
are
have the
really
80
nice.
f2
Those are super. Oh.
on a square, actually
Oh,
sharp.
that's like
They have a
that's
110
like
f2. They have
that's
a
like,
52.8. They have a 182.8.
I think a 110.
They have a
F2 would be
small 40.
fantastic.
The Zeiss 40 is huge. They have like a Schneider like small 40, which
It's like
is really
a
wide.
pancake 40.
It was really wide because like a 40 is like just
20 or something. Or...
it's well, if a 50 is a 20 square, then a 40 would be like I don't know, 16 millimeter square.
Oh, that could be fun.
It's wide.
Cool.
Okay, then it's some of those lenses are expensive. The body itself is cheaper. The inserts are $5 instead of $200.
Oh.
They're it's a vertically a taller camera,
Mm-hmm.
so the inserts are you just turn them over and put the film on the other side. You don't have to take off the spool and flip it around.
Oh wow.
It's a really cool camera, and like I think I paid $1,000 for the camera with 3 lenses.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and I shot it with when I was shooting film. That was like a wedding camera. It was just a beast.
And unlike a digital camera, when you go to sell it or you don't want it anymore, you basically get all your money back.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like depreciating. It's not like
No,
all of a sudden
except it's a hard camera to sell because no one heard about it.
Okay. Well, after this, I'm sure like
Yeah.
there will be
On the other
people looking
hand,
for
like
them.
the contacts, it will die. It's electronic.
Sure.
You know,
It's got
so
a lot
like
of
it's not
parts.
you know, in 40 years from now, they're not going to work anymore. These cameras.
No.
I don't think the contacts will be around in 40 years from now.
No, God, no.
No,
it's already like the contacts. When I bought my first contacts, 645, I bought it for $900.
What's it now, $4,000 or something?
Yeah, it's $4,000.
That's crazy.
In a very bizarre twist of fate, there are some cameras that you can buy that are better investments than like real estate or stocks or anything. Like I said, the contacts was that, and then one person once told me like a Leica isn't a purchase, it's an investment, and it's like if you bought an M6 or something, you're gonna get your money back plus like some
It's
money.
not a very good investment. It probably makes.
It's an okay investment, I guess.
You'll probably be making back your inflation. It's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but you could use it.
Yeah. I was just thinking like with digital, it's like you buy a camera, it comes out, it's $2,200 or something, right? And then like a year later, it's worth $800, something like that, or maybe 2 years later, it's worth $800. So I remember like buying a camera and just being like, okay, I got to get like 20 weddings out of this thing, right? Before
you got to think that way.
Yeah. And I had a Leica M6 for a while, and I was like, I got all the time in the world. Like, I'll just shoot this when I feel like it. I'll like enjoy it. I'll just shoot pictures of my kids. Who cares?
And who cares about the kids?
Yeah, exactly. Who cares about the kids?
Yeah,
and they're like, whatever. They're like, they like their iPad. But yeah. Okay, so your workshop. Your workshop about workshops.
I would do horribly with that one.
It's very meta. No, so your workshop is called On Composition.
It is.
And you've been traveling.
It's on composition. That's why it's called that.
It's about composition.
Yeah.
It's actually about very aptly named.
Yes.
You've been traveling all over the world teaching it. Yes.
Ish.
Technically.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider Australia part of the world.
Yeah. It is part of the world.
Which I do actually. Yes. But you were just in like Brisbane, or where were you?
I was in a few cities in Australia. Well, that was a while ago though.
Okay.
I just post things on Instagram late.
Okay.
Where was I before this? I don't remember. Where are we? Seattle?
We're in Seattle.
Where was I? I was in Washington, D.C. Was that the last one? Oh, gosh.
Well, tell us about your workshop. Like about composition.
So it's a workshop on composition. Mostly documentary oriented. So it's not like how to compose like a portrait in a field type of thing, or how to pose people. But it's more to how to, tell a coherent story with the world out there. So, I mean, we go through the camera side choices, which is like what lens, like how lenses change how we view a scene. Besides the obvious of how a lens works. I mean, we don't really.
But like the angle of view and compression and.
Yeah, how we feel when we see an image taken with a different focal length. We feel differently towards what's happening. How aperture affects the same thing as well. Shutter speed even. And then most of it is just how to like take the details out there. The elements in the world and make them fit. Because like it's kind of like composing a story.
Yes.
But when you're composing a story, you get to choose the words.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're taking a photo of the world as it is, like you don't have that choice as much. So
and you can't control anything really.
Right. So you basically have like it's like here are all these words you could use.
Yeah.
Not very limited and like make it work.
Yes.
So
here's what you're given.
Here's what you're given.
And what are you going to show? What are you not going to show? How do you compress things or move things around visually?
Yeah. It's a little bit about why we need composition, because like we walk around the world, you don't need anyone to compose it for you to look good.
Yes.
It's just you don't need to do that. You don't have to like move around to make sure the canyon looks perfect or anything. Like, so I mean, we just speak about like how our brain responds or processes the world through an image or through the real world and how that changes, what the difference is. Yeah, that's Def.
I think it's really cool.
It is cool. I really enjoy it.
Like,
it's a fun class. Okay, it's not really a fun class.
It's miserable.
It's not
like
miserable.
It's the least
intense.
fun class in the world.
It probably is the least fun class. It's very intense. It's interesting. It's not like boring, but there's no hands-on because it's a documentary oriented. So like you can't really like fake that. You can't have a session, a shoot, a documentary shoot. Like it would take up the entire workshop.
Because you get the world as it is.
Yeah,
right?
you can't say, okay, let's go shoot a couple in a field for like an hour.
Yeah.
Like, it would be, let's go shoot, the girls softball team for like 6 hours.
Yeah.
Or like, that's, I don't know.
And wrangling that chaos into saying something
presentable.
from it.
Not presentable, but yeah. And also we talk about, when I say we, I mean me.
It's all right. The royal we.
Yeah. We talk about like knowing what you want from a scene in order to be able to tell that with your images. Because like you could go into any situation and get very good photos that say two totally different things.
Yeah.
Or focus on different things. And like knowing why we are photographing is a big part of then figuring out how to take those photos that tell that specific story.
So kind of setting like an intention for what you're going to be photographing, like
especially if we're photographing our own life. I mean, it's very easy to just like, I'm taking photos so I can remember. But I mean, knowing what you want to remember, why you want to remember it, and down the line, what type of images you want to see will very much affect what the images you're going to take now are.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's very, very true. Like there was, I can almost
like it's
see
not the pretty images you're going to care about almost always.
Okay, maybe it's... So I've got a book by Saul Leiter over there.
Okay, I've heard of him.
He was a street photographer who shot with a 105 millimeter lens on a Leica. I know, weird, right?
Yeah.
A total weirdo. It's almost like someone who would shoot 20 and make crop it square.
I think most good photographers are weirdos.
Yes, there's a lot of weirdness in photography. He would go out and with a very simple intention of like, I want to shoot the color yellow, right?
Interesting.
So he would walk through like New York City or Chicago with the idea that I'm hunting yellow. So like yellow was like the thing like guiding him that day. And with that intention, he would find like, two people in yellow coats walking across the street and there's like a yellow taxi and then like some other yellow thing, and using that to like, as a framework for the chaos that he was shooting in, but going out with an intention, not just like I'm out in the world, I'm going to shoot whatever comes my way, but like I'm kind of looking for something, maybe a feeling or a color or I don't know, whatever. Like I don't know if that's close to what.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, it's more ideological than color because I mean
that's kind of a very simple.
But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Like let's say you're shooting like a march, or a protest or something. Like there's a bunch of different stories that you could be telling. You could be telling like the overall reason why they're protesting. You could be focusing on the individuals doing the protesting. You could be focusing on the reaction to the protest. You could be focusing on like the quirks of the people, like the kids, or like the signs. I mean, there's many different things that you could come back with, and most people just go for interesting because like they're not guided by a specific, which is okay if you don't care. But like when you're taking photos of your own life, or you're being hired to take photos of something very specific, like then it matters what you're going to come back with.
Yeah. And it probably affects your lens choice, your aperture.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, that's
like, am I going to shoot in color or black and white, or am I going to intentionally underexpose or whatever? Like, yeah.
Depends if you're shooting Canon or Nikon.
That's true. You shoot like Nikon way underexposed and then you get all the detail back, or when you had a Nikon.
Yeah, Sony also.
That's cool.
Sony.
Kind of amazing. One thing I notice, at least that sets your work apart too, is that you're not afraid. You actually embrace shooting at like f/22 or like f/16.
F/16. I usually don't go past f/16.
Okay, well f/16 even is like a lot of people, myself included, use shallow depth of field as a tool to make a photo interesting. And what happens, I think, is that it's almost like a crutch. Like you just kind of get stuck
Totally.
chasing the bokeh dragon, and and what happens is you're like kind of deleting a lot of information out of the world, right? Because like, I don't know, I'm shooting this, and like this is in focus, and it's interesting because nothing else is in focus. But is it really interesting?
Also, the out of focus part itself is nice. Like it lends
It's
like
nice.
character.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like kind of a visual trick or novelty, but like photojournalism, like what we were talking about, or documentary work, it's really like adding information, right? That all fits together into the scene where you can see it all.
And yeah, but I mean, it's totally a crutch. I mean,
I'm guilty. I'm
also
like
guilty
100%
of it,
guilty,
especially for portraits. I would love to be able to shoot portraits at f8 and like but like it's hard.
It's really hard, right?
Really hard.
Yeah.
But there's down the line, like there's so many details that you miss if you're shooting down the line, meaning like in 10 years from now when you're looking at the images.
Yeah.
Like especially if they're personal images that mean something to you. Let's say you're taking photos of your kids in your house.
Yeah.
Like it's all the details in the background. You're gonna want to see those usually.
Yeah.
Like the art on the wall, or the laundry hamper, the dirty socks your kids threw into the fridge for some reason.
For some reason.
Yeah, like these little things that you kind of like make your life crazy now, or you kind of want to ignore.
Yeah.
That kind of gives like, it's like the taste and the flavoring in the food that you can't really place, but it's there. And without
umami.
without it, it's just like fast food salty. It tastes good in the moment, but like if you wait a few days or like 30 minutes, it tastes horrible.
It's not nuanced.
No, it's
like,
not right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like pretty images. When I say pretty, like that depth of field, which gives like a pretty image, it kind of just like blends into almost every other image often.
I know.
Like
I agree.
They look very similar.
Yeah.
And for paid work, it's fine if it works, because like, especially if it's a portrait, because like your portraits don't have to be meaningful to anybody besides the person who's paying you.
Sure.
So like, and it's their face. It's meaningful. You know what I mean? It's okay if all your portraits merge into each other, they all look the same. Like maybe that's why they're hiring you, because they want a specific type of work. But for your own work, you kind of want to be able to see differences in your images and where you're taking them, and the times and the places, and and for all you're going to be moving out of that house in a month, and like you'll blurt it out the whole time.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like some of my favorite pictures of yours, I don't believe like anything is out of focus at all. Like you have some pictures at weddings where I feel like there's like 20 layers of people going back. Like it's almost like a classical painting where you've got like just so many actors in the frame, and no matter where your eye goes, it goes deep. Even though it's like
flat.
Even though it's flat, it's deep.
Right.
Because
and it's more interesting that way, because like you could.
Yes.
There's so
much more to look at.
Yeah. And spend time on it.
Yes. And I feel that that's something that's been completely neglected in the photography industry. Like I feel like that era kind of ended in general, maybe the 70s photojournalism, and then it was like bokeh crazy from then on until now. And then when I see your work, that really stands out to me is that it's like you're looking through like a clock or something at all these gears, and you got to wait until all the gears are aligned just perfect, and to take that photo well, you're having to see everything all at the same time, how it's interacting, and waiting for that perfect moment where it all works. And then it seems so much more valuable than just taking a portrait of somebody and like they're in focus, everything else is like melted to oblivion.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? Like,
totally.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know. Anyway, I love it.
Yeah,
I love your work.
It keeps like, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's practice. A lot of it is just practice. Being able to like see different things happening. In the frame at the same time, and like keep track of them to know where they're gonna go next, type of thing.
Totally.
To some extent, I mean.
Yeah. But
a lot of it's just shoot a lot.
I
mean, you get your general composition, and then like
kind of work it a little bit.
Yeah. I shoot a crazy amount of images at a wedding. I think the last one I shot over 7,000.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think like 4,000 was a dancing.
Okay, so 4,000 shots of dancing, and then like
because like those like first of all, things are moving so quickly that you don't know which ones are going to work anyways.
Yeah.
So I just go to town with the dancing.
And you don't have time to like sit there and be like,
No, you can't.
Did
You
I
don't
get the shot?
No.
Yeah. You figure that out later.
Yeah, and it's fun. That once the portraits are over, like the ceremony, the portraits, like then it's just like, then I allow myself to have a beer
I know, and then you can kind
or a
of relax.
drink or yeah.
Yeah. I've seen some pretty good dancing photos of you at different events.
Yeah, dancing's fun.
Yeah. We won't do any dancing today.
No, we will not. Will we won't?
I don't know. Maybe after.
Okay.
But okay, cool. So you are doing a workshop here at our headquarters, and do you have any more coming up?
I have one in Berkeley next week
Cool.
because I like Berkeley, and in a few weeks in Chicago, April 9th.
Ooh, Chicago would be fun.
Yes,
Cool.
I've never been.
I've never been to Chicago. I shot a wedding outside of Chicago, but I never even got to go into Chicago. So
Yeah,
cool.
looking forward.
And are you going to keep doing this? Like, that's not the last one ever.
No, it's not the last one ever.
Okay.
New York and Toronto, probably late summer.
Cool.
I might be phasing them out. I don't know. We'll see. Well, I'm thinking moving it online.
All right.
So like, because it's a lot to cram in one day.
I bet.
And like, I feel like if I could put it online, I could like elaborate and give people like more time to like go through the material.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting one day. Even though in person it's better almost always.
Yeah.
But
It's a lot to take in, though.
yeah, I do enjoy teaching though. It's fun talking.
Okay, cool. Well, I hope that people get a lot from your classes, because I would love to see more people experiment outside of what I normally see. So like more depth of field, more interesting elements in the frame, taking chances, taking a 20 millimeter lens and cropping a square
Absolutely.
or whatever, like playing with formats, you know, like
Yeah.
not always the
Doesn't have to be 2x3.
Yeah, not always. So
Yeah. It's basically saying the camera is going to tell me how to shoot. Like,
yeah, and you're kind of flipping it around and being like, that's
Yeah.
the raw material.
yeah, just because they put a 2x3 sensor in there doesn't mean I'm limited to 2x3 frames.
Yeah.
It's kind of like self-limiting.
I think that's cool. I would be personally very excited if more people branched out and took chances like you have. I think it'd be really healthy for the wedding industry and portrait industry in
Absolutely.
general. But anyway,
Yeah.
we got to start somewhere. So hope maybe you're teaching the first new generation of people. I don't know.
Maybe.
Hopefully,
Nah.
I hope. Okay, we have to wrap it up. I think we're probably past an hour, or we're nearing it. Do you have a piece of advice, some good piece of advice for a photographer who is just starting out?
Besides making your bed in the morning.
Besides making your bed in the morning, yes.
Oh, a piece of advice for a photographer just starting out. How just are we talking?
Maybe someone who is thinking about making it a job rather than a side
Okay, so
hustle.
someone who already like knows how to take photos to some extent.
Yes. But
So first of all, buy Mastin Labs presets.
Before
you do anything.
Okay, there we go. It's a wrap.
Then you pay for a logo, make sure you have a
yeah.
website. These are the most
Yeah.
important things. I spend so much time on my stupid logo. I don't even have one anymore. I haven't
Nice.
had one for years.
You're like post logo.
No, it just doesn't matter.
It's true. It doesn't
No one's
really matter.
hiring you for your logo. It's not like
No.
you're advertising anywhere. It's not like you have brand recognition as a photographer.
No, not really.
Like no one sees a logo of a photographer and says, "Oh, I recognize that logo. I saw that logo at someone's wedding on their napkin." Like seriously,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's no brand
Yeah.
recognition. Whatever.
So don't spend time on your logo.
Don't spend time
It's
on
a
your
waste of
logo
time.
or your website. Just get a simple Squarespace. Okay, advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a wide angle. Get a 28 millimeter. If you're shooting a full frame camera, 28 millimeters are usually one of the cheapest lenses in the arsenal. I don't know why. Every company has a cheap 28. That's usually very good. And stop down. Like shoot with 28, shoot stop down, and practice on that.
See if you
Like
can make a good
that was
photo.
a shift for me. Like I was shooting, with a 50 millimeter for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I saw someone else's work. Nate Kaiser?
Yes.
Yeah, so he was shooting with a 28 on a film camera. So what do you do when you see someone's work you like? You copy their equipment, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So I got myself a 28, and that was that's when I shifted from more portraiture to just more environmental work, you know.
Documenting the chaos.
Yeah. I think I shot so much on it. I had a Nikon D700 and a 28 2.8. It's like $100 manual focus lens I used for years. That was like my most used lens for years. It's just...
And it kind of opened your eyes, or like,
yeah,
it was a turning point for you.
And I still use it. No, I don't use it anymore because I don't really have a Nikon camera.
Yeah.
But
cool.
yeah, stop chasing the bokeh dragon for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much territory to explore that hasn't been explored. But yeah, that would be awesome. In fact, for those watching, please try that. Get a wide-angle lens and post some stuff in the group. We'd love to see your experiments with wide angle and depth of field. And that would be great. I'd love to see that. And
Yeah.
check out Zalmy's work at zalmyb.com, just so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I think for a lot of people, they've not even been exposed to work that can look really good that isn't shot at f2.
Right.
So I just think it's a breath of fresh air. But
cool. Thanks.
Yeah, but thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And and I hope your workshop is
right?
awesome tomorrow.
Was I sitting right?
Yes, I think we had decent
Okay.
posture for this weird little couch. It was pretty good. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was
Sweet.
good.
Let's go
Yeah.
finish my LaCroix.
Yes. Let's get the LaCroix.
The diaper smelling one.
Yes. The diaper smelling LaCroix. That's perfect.
All right.
All right.
Peace out, guys. It's been real.
It's been real.
It's been live.